Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Black Podcasters Association Clubhouse Chats Live. This is our bi-weekly conversation that we do via our Clubhouse Club on the Clubhouse app. I'd like to welcome everyone for joining us. We're going to give it a few more minutes for more, allow some people to enter the room. I see. Hey, Rob, what's up? How you doing? Thanks for being here. Hey, Africa, glad you can make it. So we're just going to give it a few more minutes. Got some people joining in right now. We're going to open up the discussion, our last discussion for the 2021 year. So, again, I appreciate having you guys here. Thanks for joining us. We're also live streaming this. So, if you're joining us via Facebook, our YouTube channel, make sure you like, subscribe. If you're on Facebook, definitely give StreamYard permission. If you want to make some comments or you want to add a statement to the conversation, you're welcome to do so. But again, welcome everybody to the room. Thanks for being here. Hey, Mimi, glad to see you. Again, this is our last discussion for the year. Just going to talk about our goals and plans and next steps for our podcast in the 2022 year. So, um, if you want to join, if you want to get up on the floor, just raise your hand. Would love to have you here and just talk about what you got going on, what you want, what you're planning for the future, where you see your goal, where you see your podcast going in 2022, or just the state of podcasting, especially from the Black perspective. Mimi, Africa, you guys there? Okay.
Hey, yeah, I'm here.
Hey.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, mine says poor signal, so I'm gonna jump off and come back in.
Okay. How you doing this evening, Mimi? How was your holiday?
Hey, doing. It was good. It was good, nice and relaxing. Glad to be around family and also keep it home still, seeing people on Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here. It was a day of rest and doing my yearly chicken and waffles that been doing since I was a kid. So it's my first year doing it for myself, and I did it from scratch. So it was a different experience.
Okay, good.
And
I know my daughter came to visit, so I've been in the kitchen cooking a lot more than my normal bachelorette life.
all right.
But it's all good. Glad to have the company, the fam.
All right. We're gonna give it about maybe 1 or 2 more minutes just to see if any more people join us. But again, thank you everybody for being here. Welcome to the show. This is our bi-weekly chat on Clubhouse within our Clubhouse club. If you're not a member, you can go on Clubhouse and just simply search for the Black Podcasters Association and join. If you're a member of our group, the links are in our group. And if you're on one of our social media platforms, there should be a link in the bio somewhere that you can actually reach out and join our club on the Clubhouse app. So I guess we'll just get started, Mimi. So this is our last conversation for 2021. We want to thank everybody for all the support that you've been giving us. Really appreciate you guys being here and giving your time to to engage with us and enjoy the conversation. It's been a year of ups and downs. So definitely in learning lessons and new especially for me a lot of firsts. So I really appreciate you guys coming. This is going to be a conversation where we would like you guys to just come in from the audience and just join in the conversation about what you see, where you see your podcast going, where you see your plans or your goals are that you want to achieve. So I guess we can start first and just set it off, Mimi, in Africa. Um, for me, I had a long conversation with a friend recently, and basically, I guess I'm officially a podcaster. I was told that even though I do live streams and do conversations within the group with our spotlight show and the toolkit show that I'm trying to get going, that I am officially a podcaster, at least by standards of YouTube. Um, so I guess that's been my goal for 2021. So my goal is to expand the live streaming as well as an actual physical podcast, audio podcast, uh, for the organization, for the association. It's one of my goals for 2021. 2022, excuse me. Another goal I have for 2022 is actually moving our group to a more robust platform that allows us to really start working on providing more value and greater value to our audience members. So that announcement's coming this week, Wednesday. If you haven't already RSVP'd for it, please feel free to do so. The link is in the group. You can also find a link in our bio. If you go on, if you go on out to our website, blackpodcastassociation.com, you can sign up for the newsletter. That information will be going out this week as well. But mainly my goals for 2022 is to really expand the group, grow it, and just provide more services and more workshops, events, learning opportunities, and networking opportunities for the members of the group. So that's what I've been concentrating on. And from a business point of view, it's really trying to help as many podcasters to achieve their goals as a consultant slash develop strategist. So that's really it. Mimi, you have any goals set for your podcast?
I haven't written them down yet, but I've been in that thinking, planning mode, trying to figure out what it is that I want to do for 2022. I actually was looking at, some of my expenses and stuff, getting ready for, taxes and whatnot for 2021 taxes, and just looking at, what's come in from the podcast and from my, you know, engagements and stuff, and then what's been going out. So that's kind of, I guess, where I started with. Definitely still looking at having, similar or highlighting, women and what they're doing in the community for the next year. But yeah, I think as we're going into 2022, also thinking of some hybrid events, and because I'm not 100% totally ready for all our conferences to go back in person, but I love the virtual ones. So just looking at some more events and ways to mesh things together. Have some fun in 2022. So yeah, I'm gonna keep on thinking and planning so that by the time we kick it off next week, I have some stuff written down. But yeah, still planning it out.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I guess for us, I know a lot of people this past week, this past month has been preparing for the holidays. So as I've been talking to other podcasters in the group, a lot of them aren't in goal planning mode. They're just getting started in there. But I definitely wanted to open the discussion up for it. See if there's anybody has any tips or tricks, or just get opinions on where they see their podcast or the industry going in 2022. So please feel free to join us. Come up to the stage and let's talk. Let's talk about what we want to accomplish next year. Don't be shy. Um,
Yeah.
as just so I can clear it up as well, I mentioned the links. I actually added the link inside of the clubhouse. If you need to check out any of our social media, or if you would like to RSVP for our mixer this Wednesday that we will be doing with Afros and Audio. We have a big announcement coming up that day, so you don't want to miss it. You want to be there. You want to be the first person to hear about it, not the second, third, or last. But it's definitely going to be a big event. Want you guys to join us. So the link is actually in the clubhouse conversation. If you scroll to the top, you'll see it, and then you can just join there. One second, we're having okay. Hey, Rob, what's up? Welcome to the stage.
Hey, what's going on?
How you doing?
Hey, Ross, how's it going?
Bad. Hey, Mimi. Hey.
Losing you a little bit, Rob. Hello? Okay, we lost Rob for a second.
I think the app is having issues today. I'm having technical issues too. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I'll fill in while Rob is coming back on. There you go.
Yeah, I'm having some issues
Rob,
getting
do we
people
have you
on.
back? Yeah, I think the app is updating or something.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Everybody's on vacation.
The app is updating.
Hey, Reggie, can you mute your mic?
I'm sorry.
No problem.
All right. Oh, okay, I see it. No.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, while Rob is getting ready, I'll just kind of run through some things. I think for me, I've made like a complete 180 in 2021. I closed the studio and now I want to focus mainly on creating my own content, mainly focusing on creating audio stories. So trying to switch my gears from being behind the scenes to now being in the forefront and writing and actually creating content from that perspective. So my goal is to start listening to more audio stories to get some inspiration to write, and hopefully by mid-year, be able to have completed my first episode to be written, edited, and recorded.
All right. I have a quick question about that. Like, because I don't think a lot of us are aware. What is an audio story in regards to the podcast space?
Well, from my perspective, I mean, to me, it's similar to just any other type of story. Like, I would say it's kind of like a mini movie, but you're just recording it in pure audio format. So whether that is true crime or scary stories or whatever you have an interest in, kind of just taking that same approach of writing out a script or screenwriting, and then you either being the main person who's doing the audio or the vocals, or either hiring a team and having them kind of sit down and do table reads that you record as audio story.
Okay, gotcha. Oh, yeah. My ignorant self would think you up there reading books and stuff.
Oh no, this would be stuff that I am writing on my own.
So are you writing like original stories, or is it like a subject matter?
Original stories.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, that's cool. Hey Reggie, we got you up here. We're talking about our goals and the plans for 2022. Did you want to give us some insight on what your plans are for yourself and your podcast?
Yes. Hey, Black people. How y'all doing? I'm so sorry because it's noisy here. We just had somebody knock on the door that just drove my dog crazy, so I apologize.
No problem.
But yes, so I just want to first off tell you I had an amazing conversation with Tori a couple of days ago. That was awesome. Got a lot of good feedback from it. But I'm thinking, kind of what I want to do next year is obviously continue to grow my podcast. And I'm in the process of creating a media kit by advice of Corey, so I can start getting sponsorships or trying to get sponsorships rather than just doing the old cold calling and knocking on people's door. I can just get one of those media kits going and hand it over and maybe start the conversation that way. And I just want to continue to just create good conversation. Also meeting a lot of you people in the group has been helpful as well, and just continuing to focus on that. And I would love to see at some point, us being able to do like a convention, of some sort, with all of us being able to come together, and make it work, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm gonna add that to my list too, because as much as I tell people they need to have a media kit, I need to start, especially now that I'm in the forefront, I need to have one for myself. So that is gonna be one of my goals this upcoming year too, is to work on that and get that together. Because that is important to have, especially if you wanna or you're doing like guests, you wanna get on other people's shows and you don't wanna have to do all the explaining, and you just make the process easier for them instead of having them researching, all over the place. Just send them your media kit. So I think that's important. Anybody else? Hey, hey Ronan, hey Leah, glad to have you guys here. Actually, Raphael, didn't recognize the name at first. Glad to have you guys here. Did you guys want to join Rob, did you get everything handled, or you still having a little issues? Okay. Ralph, Raphael, or Aaliyah, did you guys want to chime in and talk about your goals and some of the things you want to accomplish for your podcast next year?
Sure. Hey, y'all. How y'all doing?
Hey, Leah.
Hey, Leah, we're good.
That's good. So, the goal for my podcast next year is hopefully I want to like create merchandise for my podcast. Um, I'm working on a website right now, so launching the website shortly. That's what I'm doing right now. So it'll be before 2022. Let's see what else. And creating, working on my craft. For my part, like creating good content and whatnot. So,
Gotcha.
yep, that's pretty much it.
Hey,
That's
GD,
good
what's up,
stuff.
man?
That'll keep you busy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Hey, GD, can you mute your mic? Okay, I'll do it for you. Well, that's wonderful, Lee. I'm glad to hear you working on your website before the new year. Are you using any particular platform, or how you going about that?
I am currently using Wix as my website right now.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Is
I
it-
don't know if I could. I don't know. Do you guys know any good website platforms that would be better than Wix? Or
Well, there's one that I'm that I'm trialing now. It's called Uni. And that's spelled UENI. And basically, if you have the ability to be able to do it, it's the entry level rate of like $149. And what they do is they create the website for you. And then once they create the website, they give you the tools to be able to go in and edit it. And then, if you're interested, you can do like a monthly service where they actually give you additional services. One of them being able to, get your own URL. So mine is SoCoGarnProductions.com.
Okay.
They allow you to create emails. They give you access to, creating a listing on Google, different things that I was able to use. It's called Uni, UENI.
UNE. Wait, UN.
UE.
UE.
That's an echo.
Okay.
NI.
Okay, I'll look it up.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Thank you, Rich.
I mean, there's some other platforms. You have
Well,
you have WordPress as well. You have Pod Pages, which seems to be a really popular, good one as well as people are using. Depending on your hosting service, sometimes they give you a good, at least landing page that you can use as a website as well. So I would definitely do some research into that space and see what it is. I don't know, Reggie. That sounds kind of expensive how they have it set up. I'm gonna check them out as well. But some of that stuff, a lot of these companies, I do have to tell people be careful because a lot of these companies charge you for stuff that you can do on your own that only takes a few minutes to do. So I would definitely look into it. Reggie, real quick about that service, what's the time frame for your website, or have you started the process yet, or no?
No, my website is actually complete. So if y'all want to go, it's www.socogarn.com. So SOCOGARN.com. But it was a 3-day turnaround time. And, for me, I mean, honestly, and that's why I say if you have the ability to be able to do it, it's something to look into and something to possibly try. But I don't really have the time and the patience, really. So to be able to do that kind of stuff, I mean, I can't get into the details. I'll spend so much time trying to figure it out that it was beneficial for me to be able to do it at the time. But it all depends on what works best for you. If that's something that you're able to do and you're interested in doing, yeah, take the time to get it done yourself. But for me, I just don't have the knowledge, and it was actually recommended to me from Nick, which is the gentleman from Hostile Therapy. He told me about it, and he did it, and he said he had a good experience. So that was the reason why I kind of tried it out. If he didn't have any recommendation, I probably wouldn't have done it because I'm a little iffy about that kind of stuff also.
Mhm.
But he had a good experience, so and I did too. And they've actually reached out to me to kind of, suggest certain things and ask me for any additional feedback that they may need to make sure that my website looks the way that that I want it to.
Okay. Thank you for that. I'm definitely going to check it out. Well, thank you to everybody who's spoken so far. If you've just joining us, welcome to the room. Again, this is the Black Podcast Association. This is our bi-weekly chat that we do on Clubhouse. Today is our last conversation for 2021, and we're just discussing what our future is in 2022 as podcasters, what our goals, plans, and insights will be for ourselves as well as the industry in 2022. So please feel free to come up to the stage. Let's talk about what you're trying to do, where you see yourself going, and share some ideas. Hey Lisa, welcome to the stage. Raphael, you ready to go or
Oh, I've been ready, but
okay.
Leah's always got a jump above me. She's the
Don't
leader.
start, man. Don't
Oh
start.
hush. Don't go there, homie. Don't go there.
I also got a recommendation for Leah. Actually, Reggie brought that to my mind. Podpage. I use Podpage on my website, and I recommend trying out going with the free version and seeing uh, all the services that you can get for free. I used the free for a little bit before I decided to upgrade. I'm still behind on a lot of things that I thought I would have knocked out by now. But it's the holidays, so I'm kind of behind watching and counting.
Okay. I'll check it out.
So what are your plans? What are your goals for 2022, Raphael?
Goals for 2022. Yeah, like I was it Mimi or Africa that said she hadn't written hers down. I'm in the same boat, but I'm already seeing the map popping out in my head, and one of the first one is obviously to get better at my craft, which I discovered earlier in the year that the more I listen to Black content creators who do stuff that I enjoy, it doesn't mean they have to make the exact same type of content myself, but just Black people who I enjoy. I get better. It gives me more. Um, it motivates me to do good in my own craft. So yeah, I have increased the number of Black content creators that I listen to in comparison to last year. So yeah, I know going into 2022, improving my craft. For this year, I had only 2020. I had one guest from the LGBTQ community, and this year I doubled that. That wasn't my target. My target was six, a minimum of six guests. But so for next year, I've set 12 to have at least 12 people from. No, I have three for this year. So for next year, I want 12 people from the community. I want more women. I want more people from. It seems to be easier for me to just get men. I don't know why, but I thought I was a ladies' man. I was a certified ladies' man, but it's not working when it comes to getting guests. So I'm working on. I'm beginning to set the plans in motion to get more representation when it comes to the diversity of guests that I have on my platform. And there's some other things. I increased before I only had T-shirts, and I've added other merch for to my merch store. But I need to work on my marketing and the price. I always have a conflict over price, but I think I'll just make one decision and go with it for 2022. I still have a few days before January 1st, and then I'm just gonna lock it down and then go with that. So those are the few for now, and then the final the main a major project that I have that already started this year was with this year I got the website. I got the website October, I believe, and I started changing each episode, uh, not the description, but I added the photo of each guest to each episode. So I haven't. I think I've only done like 20 out of 105 episodes. So yeah, I got a lot to catch up on, and I know by the end of the year I'll have all episodes with all the photos of all the guests on it.
You did 105 episodes this
Oh,
year?
I'm sorry. I was gonna ask,
Total of 100.
did you use for T-shirts? I heard you say something about merchandise. What website did you?
Oh, one of my guests, he's also a veteran. He's a brother, and he has his own company.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah,
You got connections like that. Okay.
I just had to go with him. I like the t-shirt. I actually had bought some of his clothing before. I like the texture. It feels really good. So I was like, yeah, let me approach him first. Otherwise, I would have gone with T Republic or T Public.
Oh, T Republic. Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. So I
Okay.
think that's the conflict over price.
All right.
Okay.
All right. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
All right. Now I was asking earlier, the 105 episodes, that was all in 1 year, or that's been a culmination of all your episodes?
Oh, that's a combination of
Okay.
all my episodes so far. I'm not adding Patreon. Patreon, if I add Patreon, then that would probably be like 125 to 30.
All right. Hey, Rob, I see. I don't know if you're live or not. What's going on, bro? How you doing tonight?
Yeah, hopefully y'all can hear me. The new update on Android does not like Bluetooth, so every time I try to connect to my Bluetooth, so I sound decent, it kicks me out of the application.
Okay, that's what it was.
Right.
Because I'm on Android too, and I was trying to connect my Bluetooth, and I was like, I can't hear. But then I came in.
We don't
I'm
have
back.
we don't have those problems on Team iPhone. I'm just saying, you know.
Yeah, I could do that too, but
Mimi don't want to flex on nobody.
I mean, it's there, but
I know I have to walk all the way across the room to get my iPad, so we just
right.
how we are.
So how you doing, Rob? You got any goals or anything? I know you launched a new podcast, so I know you got to have some things on the pad that you want to hit next year.
Yeah, so the Tech John is going strong. So we've got some metrics that we want to hit as far as downloads and things like that. But big goals for me as far as podcasting in 2022. I tend to make my goals in January, so I don't have anything completely fleshed out yet. But I am working on a new show, so I want to launch a new show in Q1 of next year. So I've been working late nights, just trying to figure out how all that's going to go together. That'll be 4 podcasts that I do per week.
I was about to say another one.
But this will be the first one where the podcast is in support of a real world business that is not just the podcast itself. So just trying to figure out what the differences of that type of show are, how you launch that type of show. Clearly, the way you would look at metrics for that show are going to be different than you would look at one that is purely just to get as many people to listen as possible. But those are some of the things that I'm going to be working on as far as where I'd like to go in 2022 at the beginning of the year.
Okay, sounds big, man. We're gonna definitely have to talk more about that. I want to learn more about what you're doing. Thanks for sharing that with us. I'm gonna I know we have Gerald and then Lisa, and then I have a question I want to ask everybody that's up here. But hey Gerald, what's up, bro? How you doing? Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
All right, bro.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Definitely
Okay,
loud
good.
and clear.
Oh, okay, even better.
So
Okay.
what's
The
your
floor
goals?
is mine?
Yeah. it's all on you, bro.
Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking of a few things. Definitely trying to grow my audience. And I am kind of wondering, should I just zero in on one podcast? I mean, the fantasy football, it was a lot of work. It seems like I'm getting more feedback on the basketball one than the fantasy football. So, especially now that I added the player spotlight, I've been getting good feedback on that. So, um, yeah, so I'm thinking maybe zero in on one podcast show. So, and then of course, I heard Leah talk about websites. So I'm kind of, because I have my son-in-law, he was kind of working on one for me. I didn't really follow up with him on that. So maybe I'll go back to him and get him to set it up for me. I'll see. And then looking into like Patreon. I know people talk about that. I've heard someone mention that as well. So there's a few things I'm kicking around in my head. So
Okay. All right. That sounds
yeah.
good.
So,
Well, thank you
yeah.
for sharing.
Oh, and FYI, I'll be at the mixer. My work got canceled. So
Oh, okay. Good. Make sure you RSVP.
yeah.
Oh, just to reset the room real quick. If you guys don't know, this Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. we're going to be having a mixer along with Afros and Audio. We're going to be making a big announcement, so please make sure you come and check it out. You can do that if you scroll to the top of the room. You'll see a link, our link tree. You can go in there, and there's a link at the top of the page that will take you directly to the website to RSVP for that mixer. So you don't want to miss it. You definitely want to be a part of this because it's going to be some really big news for 2022. And I'm excited. I know Taleb at Afros and Audio is excited, and I just can't wait. The new year's not coming fast enough. So definitely check that out. You can also check out our other social media links on there as well. So I'm gonna open up the floor to Lisa. Hi, Lisa. Good to see.
For Gidi before you go. Sorry.
Sure.
Gidi, have you come up with a name for your new name for your podcast? The basketball one.
No, not yet. That I'm kind of putting on the back burner for now. I'm just concentrating on content right now. So,
All right.
thanks.
Okay. Thanks. Hi, Lisa. How you doing this evening?
Hello, everybody. How are you? I'm Lisa with Black Women Stitch, the song group where Black Lives Matter, and my podcast is called Stitch Please, a weekly audio show where we center Black women, girls, and femmes in sewing. And while G was talking, I RSVP'd for the meetup on Wednesday. So thank y'all. That all worked out perfectly.
Thank you, Lisa. Looking forward to having you there.
Very excited. I love Afros and Audios, and Talib is just so wonderful, and our values align so well. And so I'm really happy to support, and I'm really excited to learn about your project as well, Corey. And I think that we connected a bit at Afros and Audios, most recent conference. So it's been really cool. So thank you so much for bringing me on stage. When I think about my podcast for 2022, some of the things that I've been doing lately is I'm coming up against some health crises with my family. And so I was trying to think of ways to build sustainability into my podcast during the times when I might not be able to have my hands on it. And so what that amounted to was a furious session of back recording. And I mean, like, I just went all ham, like right before the genocidal holiday that I don't celebrate, but a lot of people do. I sent like requests to like 17 people for interviews, thinking, okay, maybe 5 or 6 people might say yes. I think 12 I have done about 15 interviews in the last like 3 weeks. And so I have pretty much a quarter of the whole year already done. What I'm building for is some goals that I have are to increase Patreon. I get good Patreon participation. I did a Patreon drive back around the podcast birthday. and I was trying to get 100 new patrons by the 100th episode of the podcast. And so I pushed that really hard. I had graphics that went along with it. I would do the ad read on it in my show. Since my show is unsponsored, all the ads, all the promos are about my project. And it worked. And I got 100 new patrons, and that made a nice difference. And so now I'm able to hire someone to do the editing and to help the podcast, be more sustainable and less personally draining and exhausting, which feels great. It's a great growth to have. We recently, at the end of 2020, we crossed into 100,000 downloads at the end of 2020. And now here we are at the end of 2021, and we're about to cross into we're over 260,000 downloads, which is very exciting for a very, very niche podcast. It's the nichest of niches. And so I'm just really happy and really proud, but also trying to be mindful that this is not the only thing that I do, but I also love it. And I really want it to thrive. And so I'm learning to let go of some things, that I can trust people to do a good job with the audio editing. I can trust people to do the descriptions. I can trust people to do other things. And so that growth has helped me think about sustainability and longevity. And so I'm really excited about that. And also, y'all are all invited. I'm doing what I'm calling a NIA celebration of the podcast on Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it's just like a year in review of the podcast. So y'all are all invited. If you want info, just send me a back channel. I'll send you the link to sign up. And so that's that. Thank you so much. And I'm done speaking.
I'm sorry, Lisa. I want the link, because that sounds kind of cool, to your little event on Thursday.
Yeah. I will totally send it to you, Leah. Thank you.
No problem.
I've never done it before, but I just thought it could be something fun. It's, because for me, podcasting is all about community. I'm not podcasting as, like for a job. I'm not doing it for a company. I'm doing it because I desperately needed a community of Black women, girls, and femmes that sewed, so I could find myself reflected in that. And that is what I have built. And so I just wanted to kind of talk about that and to bring those folks together just so we can chit chat and kind of have like a two-way call. You know what I mean? Usually podcasting is so one-sided. So I just think it'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, I'll go get the link and I'll send it to you.
I can't sew, but I'll still come.
Yeah. Sewing is not required.
So
Yeah, I'd be interested in that link too. I have a project here that I started that I have not finished sewing. So yeah, a little bit of mojo, influence would be good. I'll join in also.
What don't you do, Mimi? Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Lisa, for that.
Hey, I'm a Renaissance woman.
I'm glad to hear you had that success. That's definitely something. I feel like there's a lot of lessons to be learned in what you've accomplished this year. So I would love to have a future conversation and learn more about like that drive that you did for Patreon, as well as the batch recording, because that is something I definitely urge my clients to do to help alleviate the pressure of having to do a podcast every day, or once a week or whatever it is that they plan on, how they plan on launching their podcast. So that's big. We're having some issues. I'm trying to bring people up to the stage. I don't know what's going on here, but
Corey?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback off of what Lisa said about the batch recording, because I remember she mentioned it last time. So I am carving out time. I have some downtime from work. I'm carving out a day where I do some player spotlights, batch record a bunch of those. So thanks for the suggestion, Lisa. Appreciate that.
I love batch recording so much. I feel it's like time travel. It really is like time travel, because when I have a bunch of episodes, I'm like, wow, past Lisa was really nice to me, future Lisa, for giving me all this stuff.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All I know is I'm gonna need you Android users to update your phones or your Clubhouse app, because everybody I know that has an Android is having problems right now with Clubhouse. Yes, I'm gonna put that out there. But welcome to the stage, Bethany. How you doing this evening?
Team Droid for life. Apple is going to ruin people's lives. She knows.
Don't hate.
we good.
I'm with you, Bethany.
They should have never gave them Droid users Clubhouse.
Right, exactly.
We're coming for you, Lisa. We're coming for you.
I'm with you, Bethany.
So for
That's
those
a
who do
straight
not,
boo, 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 boo.
for those who do not know me, I am Bethany Hawkins. I am a moderator for Black Podcasters Association. I am championing for Corey to change the name to Black Ass Podcasters because y'all are not Black Ass Podcasters.
Never.
It's never going to happen. A girl could dream. I am also the host of Chatting Over Chowder, which is an award-winning podcast thanks to Black Pod Awards. Thank you, Demetrius. And we talk to women in the podcasting industry about what podcasts they listen to while eating chowder or soup, depending upon what they order, because yes, we send our guests chowder. And for 2022, my goals for Chatting Over Chowder is actually to be on more podcasts. I got an opportunity this year, and it's really funny because our podcast just started this year, and the milestones that we hit were astronomical. So I want to be more intentional in wrapping up our episodes earlier than I want to make them all less than an hour because I know that everyone's attention span can't handle at least an hour-long episode. So I want to be very intentional on speaking with our guests, the topics that we hit, and keeping everybody on track, as well as being a guest on other people's podcasts to drive more attraction and attention to Chatting Over Chowder. So those are my goals.
Wonderful, wonderful. I do want to present a question to everybody in the room, and especially you guys up here on the stage. It's actually two questions I have, but the first one I'm going to go with is, you know, a lot of people, you guys have mentioned your goals. What is the one goal you have for yourself that is going to challenge you, that's going to make you come out of your comfort zone, or have you thought about that yet for the next year with your podcast?
I can start. My big challenge is accepting money. I really am very, very critical of capitalism. I have a very strong activist / social racial justice organizer perspective. I come from a tradition of Black liberation thought, and I am struggling so hard with the idea that I can have my podcast thrive financially and also be in line with my values. Like, I have been adamant against sponsorship from any brand that would be interested in what I am doing because I do not trust them. And I do not trust that they will not try to compromise my values. I do not want to look like I'm selling myself. I'm not selling my audience. And so for me, it's going to require a huge calibration of my values, a huge calibration of my perspective. And something that I'm now learning and leaning into is the idea that liberation can be easeful. And I think that I'm so used to struggle. I'm so used to, difficulty and challenge and lack and limitation and all of that. And it really has been a huge shift for me to see a liberatory framework beyond the idea that you are supposed to somehow suffer for it all. That is a huge mindset shift for me. And so that's something that I did a Patreon webinar, like a workshop, and Blair Imani, who is an activist or a former activist, she has a really thriving platform. And I connected with her about it, just a couple of questions, and it made me just really think differently about what I was doing. So I'm feeling more like, okay, maybe I could think about some sponsors. Maybe I could think about organic ways to do this so that I don't have to float it on the personal money that I do not have. So that's something that I'm really excited to kind of explore and work through. So thank you.
Lisa, do you mind if I add to your reframe?
Yes, thank you.
You are so intentional with how you operate and how you navigate through your podcast. I invite you to trust yourself, and whomever you choose as a sponsor, you will have vetted them appropriately that they are aligned with your mission in your podcast.
And thank you. Thank you for that, Bethany. I appreciate that. Thank you.
You know, I know for
You're
me,
welcome, and I can't wait to hear your sponsor.
I mean, I know I know for a lot of people that is an area of contention of where you accept your sponsorship. Who do you allow to access your platform and the whole issue of money. I know some people when when they start their podcast, they have the idea that they don't want to do this for money. Um, you know, they might want to do donations or figure out other ways to create some revenue streams through their podcast. So I'm glad to hear you have a shift in that. Again, you know, we don't have the one thing I like about podcasting and compared to other media formats is that you have control over what you do and how you do it in your podcast, right? You can determine for yourself. You're not forced to take money from anybody. And I think for our community, especially what we saw what was going on last year and what we're seeing the outcomes for some black podcasters is that you know they took the money and now they lost their IP or they lost the property that they helped create or they don't have the same control that they had before joining some of these networks or accepting sponsorship deals from some of these companies or just taking some of these exclusive deals. So it's important that we understand that, you know, the money that comes our way does not mean you have to take it. Does not mean you're obligated to take it. And it should be in line with whatever your personal views are. Because at the end of the day, you got to be able to look at yourself in the mirror. Um, and you have to be careful because you can wind up really chasing away that core audience that you took a long time to build and build that trust and loyalty from. So I'm glad to hear you know, there's a shift in that. But, you know, we also, you know, our community has this infatuation with chasing the bag, right? And not realizing that sometimes on a long term scale, that has serious outcomes for you. So we have to protect our media. We have to protect the IP that we create, and we have to be intentional in who we allow into our circle and who we align with in regards to that path of success that we're going. So I'm glad to hear that. Anybody else have a goal or something that they really want to challenge themselves with this year that they want to face? My biggest challenge, I'll put myself out there. My biggest challenge was putting myself out there. So a lot of you guys know it's not a new story anymore. Now I'm streaming. So I think for me in that place, it's going to now start doing interviews, not for my own platform, but for other platforms because I have gotten several requests this past couple of weeks and it's been like, well, what do for me, it's like, well, what do I really have to talk about? Sometimes I don't feel like some of the things I say is that important. So getting over that hump and really just taking myself out of that comfort zone is going to be another one of my goals, especially since I have plans for this group and that's the only way I'm going to get it going. So,
Yeah, I'll go ahead. A major part of of what gets me uncomfortable was part of what Lisa had covered. But someone just brought something to my attention recently. Well, he made a proposal to fellow Nigerian-born podcaster in the States like myself, and he wanted. I've actually told him that he should join the group and talk to you, Corey. But he made me think about something that I've postponed of not even try to even consider. He wanted us to do a live show, and I was like, huh, I've never considered that. I mean, there's a pandemic still ongoing. I'm not 100% comfortable being around people just like that because I also have some health issues. So yeah, I'm and I haven't thought that to think about. But it's something that I don't really think I had at the back of my mind when I began podcasting that there might be a day where I'll be comfortable, where I will record a podcast as a live show. I've given speeches, I've talked to people, I've addressed public. That's not an issue for me. But just the just fine tuning my mind into that mindset. Like there's a podcast recording that I can do. It's like I'm feeling like I will lose a certain amount of control. I don't know if that's how I'm feeling per se, because like the studio, the sound, everything is perfect to my taste when I'm in the studio. The sound, everything works in my favor. It's like I own that world now. But it feels like if I go bigger than the studio where I record into a live environment with a live audience, I might not be able to. I don't know. I just feel like there are things that might be going out of my hands, but at the same time, it's an idea that I'm interested in. So it's not like I'm afraid of it, but it's just like trying to work out uh, the little mental barriers in there. So yeah, it's something that I'm considering. But if I've asked him to make the final proposal, if I like the final proposal, then I might then I'll probably introduce him to more people in the group because he's not based in New York.
All right. Well, I offer mobile podcast recording services, so you can always holler at me. We can talk about that. And I'm in New York, so thank you for that.
Oh yeah, but he wants to go on a tour of like with other podcasters, so it's a little bit different. But it just made me think about doing a live recording of a podcast with people in the audience, and yeah, just thinking about that. I don't know. It's like I'm in between both positive and lukewarm. I would say, yeah, good idea.
Well, I will say this in regards to that, right? You in order for that to really be successful you got to make sure you have a strong following. You got to make sure you understand where your fan base is located, because you don't want to put something like that together and you're going into either here in New York City or other places and you have very low turnout, because touring in general is just expensive, right? Especially when going to other cities for transportation, just food, housing, and then transporting your equipment or however you decide to do it. If you hire people in each city or whatever, it can become it's in a from my experience, I was on tour when I was younger in the music industry. It is a long, tedious, and expensive process that if you don't set it up for success, it's definitely going to fail. It's no if, ands, or about it, right? If you don't have turnout, the people aren't showing up, people aren't you don't have a strong following, you don't have a strong network, and it's just going to be a waste of money. So I definitely would say in the 2022, sorry, excuse me, I'm already a year ahead, and the new year hasn't even started. But in 2022, you should really, maybe if you're going to be moving in that direction, just focusing on how you're going to build your engagement and connection with your audience. You know what I'm saying, Raphael?
Yeah, that makes sense. I agree with that.
Yeah, and I've done a few like kind of touring things this year, and I also try to stack things. So if I'm going to Chicago to record a live podcast on Friday, then you better believe Thursday and Saturday I'm doing something else that that you can kind of, maybe someone, you can meet up with someone or have a conversation with them or do another recording. So you're doing more than one thing when you're in town, to kind of, make sure that you're getting the most out of all of that travel, hotel, food, dinner, and, everything, because it does kind of add up.
So we will see if 2022, what the pandemic does, and if it allows gatherings of large people to get together for things. But something that I've done in the past on multiple occasions when it comes to a live show is planning them around events. So if there's a conference or a show that your audience is going to be at, you could plan a live show around that conference. I've done this probably 3-4 times, and it tends to work out great because you know that there's going to be people who are your followers at a specific location, and once you know that, it makes it a little easier to get a room, to get food. You could even do pre-sales for tickets if that's something that you're desiring to do. But when you aren't the one planning the event, when there's already an event and you can just plan a satellite event to that event, that makes moving into doing live shows, in my opinion, a little bit easier. And that is something I absolutely want to do. And I tried to do it last year, couldn't do it this year. I'd like, hopefully, in the second half of next year to be able to, get to where I'm actually doing a live show tour, because I've done it. And what I've really found is that once basically once you do the first one or two and you say, okay, that's all that it is, it's not that big a deal. They become exciting, because I too was very, I was very concerned about what the audio quality was going to be like. And it's not going to be as good as in the controlled studio, but that's not the purpose of the live show. It is to allow the audience to be there, to have that background noise, to hear the audience responding to you, something that you would never generally have in your live or in your recorded setting. It just gives you a different feel. And as long as the entire show, your entire show doesn't become just a set of live shows to where that's something different, your audience will understand that, oh, this is a live show, so they're not going to necessarily expect the same level of quality. It's kind of like when you hear, you got your favorite album, but you hear the live recording of it. Well, you hear the background in the live recording of it. That's kind of expected, and it's going to be the same thing with the live show.
Thanks for that. I really love the idea. Thank you.
That's dope. Anyone else want to talk about anything that might be a goal that's going to challenge them and take them out of their comfort zone? If not, that's fine. I think the other question I have, a couple of people have mentioned doing getting it focusing more on monetization of their podcast. What do you, for those people who have mentioned that, what are your goals or what are your plans towards moving in that direction of monetizing your podcast in 2022? How are you going about it? But before you answer that, I see we have some new people in the room. Welcome to the room. Thank you for being here. If you would like to come up here and talk about your goals for 2022, feel free to raise your hand and I'll bring you up. But we're just having a discussion about what our plans are in 2022 as in regards to our podcast, what our goals are, and how we want to plan on achieving those. So thank you for joining us. Again, so for those people who did say that they were planning on monetizing or improving their monetization, what are some of your plans? What are your goals? How are you going to go about achieving that goal? And I see we have Linda. Hi, Linda. Welcome to the stage. Would you like to introduce yourself and just tell us what your goals are for 2022 for your podcast?
Oh my gosh, how are you? How is everyone in the room? Well, first of all, I don't even have a podcast, so
Okay.
maybe I'm not even supposed to be here. But I was looking for some tips, tools, and techniques on getting started. I'm really quite intimidated by the whole podcast situation. Like, I feel like I need to know a lot more tech. But what are your thoughts on that for someone beginning, or is this not that room? And if so, I'll just sit back and listen.
Well, this is not that room, but I think this is an opportunity to make it a goal for you for 2022. To really face that I don't want to say fear, because it's not really a fear. It's just mainly knowing where to start, right, and figuring out how to go about what you need to do and accomplish. So, this really isn't that conversation, even though we do have those conversations in our association, both here on Clubhouse as well as in our Facebook group. And if you're interested in that, you can definitely click the link at the top of the group and follow some of those links and join our organization on Facebook or here on the Clubhouse app. But I think my advice for you is to make that a goal for 2022 for yourself. There's plenty of ways to start. You have people up here like myself, Bethany, that do that help people do that do exactly what you're looking for. So if you would like to sit down and schedule a meeting with me or with one of the other people here, just send me a message in the back channel and we can set that up. But my advice to you would be is and anybody else that wants to chime in can do that as well, offer some advice real quick, is to really think about what do you want to achieve with your podcast, what goals and outcomes you want before you even get started, because you want to make sure that you start it properly. That's one of the biggest issues I have with a lot of people that I come across, is that they've created these obstacles for themselves because they didn't take the time in the beginning stage of planning their podcast to really think things through. They just did it, and now they're trying to fix mistakes that have wound up becoming more costly for them in the long run than if they had just sat down for a few minutes and really mapped out what their goals are and what content they want to do and who they're targeting, and those kind of things. So that would be my advice for you, to start at least at that point. Anybody else who's up here? Most of us up here are are seasoned veterans in the podcasting space. We want to offer any advice to Linda?
I will. I'll piggyback on a lot of what Corey said. Set yourself up for success by planning. Figure out what you have your bandwidth for. Do you want to do one episode a month? Do you want to do one episode a week? Do you want it to be 30 minutes? Do you want it to be 60 minutes? Do you want to include guests in the conversation? Do you want it to be solo? Do you want it to be half and half, one solo, one guest? These are the type of things that are going to prepare you for success, because you're planning your success. And that is such a fundamental in the initial stages of podcasting. Anybody can eventually learn how to edit. It's getting all of your ducks in a row to your purpose in creating this podcast, your meaning, who you want to be your ideal listener, who do you want to reach, what message do you want to convey. It sounds very overwhelming, but it truly isn't. You're going to want to concentrate and focus on your why, and then everything should really fall in place before you even hit record. And you also have to plan for the overwhelm. When you become overwhelmed, what are you going to do? Are you going to batch record like Lisa speaks of? Are you going to take a break and let your audience know that you're going to take a break for like a seasonal interlude or intermission? These are going to be kind of like all of the questions that you want to ask yourself prior to creating a podcast. And then you could worry about your podcast name and all of the fun stuff. Cover art. You're going to want to make sure that your cover art is the brand of your podcast and really speaks to what your podcast is about without being overwhelming. So it's all of these really important type of things that you have to consider and prepare before you even buy a freaking microphone. So I hope that helps.
Yeah,
That was very helpful. Thank you so much. And I will click the link and I will schedule time. I just feel sometimes that there's so many podcasts out there, and is there necessarily room for one
Yes.
more? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. There is. Yes. There is.
Linda.
There's absolutely room for one more. There's absolutely room for. I mean, there's nobody out there doing bodacious Black women over 50. That is not a podcast that exists. There, and we also have learned from this recent survey of Black audiences that the demographics of Black podcast listeners tends toward our age group, because I'm in the Bodacious Black Women Over 50 Club as well. And so I just would want to say, to just echo what everything Bethany said was correct, but I just want to tell you, Linda, that you can do it. You can do it. You just have to, to want to prioritize, and everything that you're doing shouldn't be you shouldn't be stressed out about it. That's the thing. You shouldn't be stressed out about it. The things that you're doing to get yourself ready should be things that excite you and things that you're looking forward to. You're not taking on podcasting because you want to volunteer to do a bunch of work for no reason. You're taking on podcasting because you have a story you want to tell. You have a vision you want to share. You have a community you want to build. And that podcasting is that way. And I just keep going back to podcasting as it originally was intended, way back when it first started. It was like from the CB radio days, where it was just like people, one person connected to one other person. It wasn't this whole industry that capitalism has now built this huge umbrella around, and now it's like a thing to buy and sell. It was really about relationships. and about connection. And if you can remember that, I think you'll be golden. And I also said, I've been telling everybody that's asked me, start with short episodes. It is much easier to make a podcast series that's been short longer than it is to take things that have been longer and make them shorter. So I would just say start shorter and then just see what works for you.
And Linda, I also want to say to you, how many TV shows do we have about a group of friends?
Right?
If you think about the TV shows with a group of friends, and there are still people sitting in that boardroom talking about, oh, I have such an enlightening idea. How about a group of friends? And someone's like, yeah. And normally their name is Chad.
They live in New York City.
They all live in New York City. Half of them don't have Black people. and this
French too.
Don't be mad because your city is boring, okay? Don't attack New York City.
Don't be mad at Boston. We got stuff happening here. We have Sam Adams, all right? Don't worry about us. But whenever my clients say to me, yo, there's too many podcasts, I'm going to get lost in the shuffle. I always say to them, scroll through your television tonight and literally count how many TV shows are about a group of friends.
I like that, Bethany. I do. And, we don't think about those
There's
things.
also a whole channel about murder. So, like, it's something out there for everybody. There's a whole channel where they do nothing but people get murdered. Like the ID Network and Dangerous Women and all that. It's a huge genre. You can do anything. You can make a show about anything.
The only thing I'll add is there's no other Linda who's covering what you're covering. There might be other people who want to talk about what you want to talk about, but nobody can say it like you. So do your thing. And you might not even have to buy a mic, depending on what city you live in. Like Brooklyn has the public library. They have a world-class facility there. You know how to record. You can record there, like literally just walk in and record. So you might want there's stuff that's available to you. But first, knock out the why. Everything Lisa, Bethany, and Corey have said, that's it. But there's only one Linda who can deliver what Linda has to say. So I believe in that. So go with that.
All right, thank you guys.
Wow, this is good stuff. Even if I'm not really quite ready for this club per se, you guys have really given me some valuable. Like Ronan, I didn't even know you could. I'm in Atlanta. That you could actually record your podcast in the library. Like that is amazing. Thank you so much for that. Thank each and every one of you for your gems. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here and thank you for joining us. It takes a lot for somebody to put themselves out there like that. So we really do appreciate you. I do want to move the conversation back to the monetization part because we didn't really touch on that. So for you guys that have talked about monetizing your podcast, what are some of your goals or plans into moving forward in that space?
I'll go. I have a whole podcast production management company, and I never talk about it on my podcast. I don't insert ads. We very quickly go over it in the introduction when we introduce ourselves in every episode. But other than that, we skirt right over the fact that we literally create podcasts for a living. I pay my mortgage with this company. So I need to be really conscious and intentional about ad insertion. And for some reason, I think it's a little bit of what Lisa was saying. It kind of makes me feel icky to be like braggadocious about my company that's doing really well and doing really great work. But I need to like build a bridge and get over it and just start ad insertion.
That was so 1990s. Build a bridge and get over it. I've heard that so long.
I'm old. I am old as hell. I'm a 70s baby, yo.
Build a bridge and get over it. I'm guilty of the same thing. And, I've been trying to figure out how to use, since I'm doing more lives, how to do ad insertion. So that's going to be my goal, is figuring out how to, even just for my own company, because I have to do production as well, and I don't promote it like I should. Even through my own vehicles, I should be promoting it a little bit more. as well. So that's definitely going to be a goal on my list for next year is figuring out how to monetize that or actually create some lead generations for my business in that capacity because I'm sitting here, I'm producing, making this content, and not once do I let people know, hey, by the way, reach out to me. So I think that's important. Anyone else with their podcast?
So one of the things that I have been thinking a lot about for since 2019, since I've been doing this full time for almost 3 years now, and it is how do you generate revenue? How do you pay your bills from podcasting? And and this is just my story. There's probably a lot of stories out there, but for years, for well over 10 years, it was just a hobby. It was just something I did with my homies, and we just recorded. And if we made enough money from Patreon, if we made enough money from somebody wanting to say, hey, can you talk about my new company or something like that on the show? If we made enough money doing that to pay for equipment, we were happy. But I really started to think differently about monetization, not just trying to chase the bag all the time, but ultimately, if you're going to do it as a business, the business at some point has to generate income, it has to generate revenue. And really, what I've come down to is that we should be thinking about monetization, ways that your podcast can support itself and support you from day one. I see so many people say, well, I'm not going to worry about Patreon until I get to a certain number of people, or I'm not going to worry about ad insertion until I get to, a certain number. And what I'm finding is that those numbers are always inflated. At least they seem like they're always inflated. If you are trying to wait until you get to 10,000 downloads before before you actually start to think about monetization, you may have missed an awful lot of opportunity if you would have thought about that stuff day one. We've talked before. Mimi, I know you've heard this story because you interviewed us, on it, but we were literally asking, having people ask us, what is your Patreon? Do you have buy me a cup of coffee? What is your Patreon link? All that stuff after one episode, they were actively coming to us saying, how can we help you support your show? And my mind at the time before this was, well, I need to actually build up an audience before I can actually start to monetize. And I think that, for shows that I'm going to do going forward is that I want to have the monetization in the back of my mind on paper and actually implement it before I ever hit record on the first episode. I don't necessarily expect the first episode to be generating revenue, but I definitely have an idea of how it's going to, maybe by episode 10, by episode 15, by episode 20. So for me, it's not just chasing the bag. It's really just with intentionality, thinking about how this mechanism, can support, a business. And it's not just ads. It's not just sponsorships. It could be things that you do on the periphery of your podcast. As I said when I first got on, is that my next show is in support of a business. I'd never have to run an ad on that show. Not saying that I won't, but hopefully I would never have to, because it'll be things that come from the business that the podcast is talking about that would actually be the thing to generate the income. So I'm looking more at podcasting as almost like just pure content marketing. How can I put content out there that is going to drive someone into a funnel for ultimately a service or an offering that I am selling, via business. And that's what I've really been thinking about for the last 6 months. And I think, as I said, I'm going to start a podcast in Q1. It's going to be a bit of a different model for me where I really am going to be focusing on the business of the podcast as compared to the podcast itself.
All right, that's good, Rob. I'm looking forward to seeing that come into fruition. I do have. I wanted to just add on what you said, Rob, because I've been using your line for a couple of weeks now since we had that conversation about the Black Podcasters Report from Edison, and I remember during that conversation, you were explaining how we have to train our audience, and I can tell you from when I started this journey, I've dropped when it comes to that part, I've dropped the ball. So now it's like now it's just getting more comfortable with saying, hey guys, you want to support the content, you want to support the channel or support what we're doing, just trying to drive that point home and getting people more engaged, basically, like you said, training them to see it from that perspective. So I definitely agree with you where I think a lot of us need to really put that into our plan from the beginning. And if we haven't, to start working on that process now so that not only do our listeners get comfortable with hearing it, we get comfortable saying it ourselves because that is like as Lisa mentioned earlier and Bethany, sometimes being aware of it or being conscious of it or just dealing with the conflict you may have in regards to your belief system or your ideologies in regards to asking people for money or asking people to help support you or trying to sell services and products is you got to get over that hump and you got to figure out what works best for you. And the only way to do that is to actually sit there and face it and address it. So I do really appreciate that, Rob. I know one of the things you also helped me realize was the affiliate space, right? It's a good way to create revenue and drive traffic for your podcast as well. So I definitely would challenge a lot of the people hearing this conversation to look further into that space, especially if you have a very niche market or target audience that you can actually provide those products to your audience would help drive some revenue for you as well. So for instance, I'm going to call
Yeah.
you out, JD. Like you have the basketball and you're doing the basketball, you're spotlighting the old basketball players in your series. You could be affiliate marketing, basketball cards from back in the days, or going and talking to an old sports, a sports collector or something business that deals with that kind of stuff and working out an arrangement. So it's definitely important to really sit down and address that and figure out a plan. So anyone else have any
Yeah.
ideas of what's up, Rob? You just gonna say something?
I was just going to say, affiliate marketing is it is. I don't want to say it's easy. It's simple. It's once you understand what it is that you're trying to do, there's work to it, but it's not complicated. And I know a lot of folks say, well, I don't want to be out here, selling products, or that's not my thing. But if you're explaining to someone how to do X, Y, or Z, and there's a tool that you use to do X, Y, or Z, you probably don't have a problem mentioning it if you weren't expecting to receive anything from it. I think it's just a barrier that you put in your mind. It's like, well, if I actually tell them that, well, there's an affiliate link, then they're not going to take it seriously. And it's like, well, if you didn't tell them there was an affiliate link, or you didn't have an affiliate link, well, you'll never know whether they took it seriously or not. There's no way for you to track that. So even if you're just saying, I want to talk about these particular things, I'm going to use affiliate tracking just to see whether or not this resonates or not. You will know based off of this person, or this group of people listen to this content. We talked about this product and this product was purchased. The same group of people listen to this content. We talked about product and no one purchased it. Well, that's probably not an area that you would go back to. So even just understanding who your audience is and where they are, in their journey, depending on what it is you're teaching them how to do. If that is what your podcast is, if you are teaching them something, affiliate marketing can be, a boon. And I know a lot of podcasters that you yourself, Corey, you didn't even think of it when we initially had those conversations. Like, oh wow, I never even thought that I could do that. And I was just saying, dude, why don't you have affiliate links for all of this stuff?
Yeah.
So I as I said, train your audience, to expect that you are going to make a living off of the content that you're putting in front of them. I have heard people say, well, I did this for 2 years and then I tried to put ads in and then people didn't like the ads. Well, that's because for 2 years you were training them that everything you did for them was going to be absolutely free with no friction from them. So I've thought about doing things like, well, you know what? We're going to put ads in day one. If you don't want ads, here's a Patreon link where you can actually get a feed that is ad free. So you're giving them the option to not have, ads in their stream up front. But if they choose that, well, I'm not going to go that option, I'm going to go the free route, then you're going to hear ads, just like you do when you watch television, just like you do when you listen to the radio, just like you do when you read the newspaper. You're going to see other companies that are supporting the effort of the news or of the magazine or of the radio show or of the TV show that you were looking at in that.
And I think that if we think about a podcast the same way from a business perspective, you'll see a lot of folks that stick around in this game a little bit longer, just because you ultimately will be able to pay for your equipment and hopefully pay for a lifestyle.
I just have
Corey,
to
I do have
add
to
as
say,
well. Oh, Stephanie, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, Corey, I'm glad that you are bringing up this question. I just want to thank you for bringing up this question regarding monetization and hesitancy, because I think that everybody at the end of the year gets their goals prepared for the next year, but they don't talk about the reservations that they have. So I'm very thankful that that you brought this at the end of this discussion. I think it's valid and I think it's important.
You're welcome.
And I was going to add, I agree with that, Bethany. I think it's really important and important to have the conversation. I just have to say that I disagree with so much of what Rob said, because it's just not the way that I would do it. But that's also because my project is different, and that part of what I'm doing is to kind of get past the idea of scarcity, get past the idea of capitalism and competition and pay to play. And I'm really trying to take advantage of what it means to build something new. And from this liberatory framework or liberation-minded framework that I'm using, that is trying to decenter and move capitalism and move capital even out of it. And I realized that a part of the reason that I'm able to do this is because I was able to start podcasting through a grant offered by my community. And so I got a grant. It was like maybe $2,500. I used it to hold a sewing workshop, and I used the rest of it to buy equipment, buy my year of posting, buy everything I needed to get going. And so I was able to also sit down with people like DJs and people that I knew to show me how to do things and tell me what a track was. And I got a lot of support from my community. So it makes me feel like I never like pay attention to any monetization talk. It's a monetization workshop. I'm not going. It's really been, I know I've been very privileged to be able to do it this way. And because I just feel like because there is so much, like for example, my sister is a marketing person. She's an MBA. She's a Disney exec. And I told her, I don't want everybody's money. And she's like, yes, you do. And so like, so I'm just trying to figure out how I can be flexible and say things like, okay, I don't have to struggle. I don't have to be broke. I don't have to stay up until 2 o'clock in the morning and then get ready for work because I was working on the podcast because I didn't have any money to pay somebody to help me. Like that is not necessary. But at the same time, I'm not ready to go full throttle, because for me, and this is the thing, remember the big debate around Harriet Tubman being on the $5 bill? And there were a lot of people that were proud of that and of people who hated it. They were like, there was a time when Black people in this country were bought and sold for money. And now you're going to put a Black woman actually on money. And so like, that's the kind of thing that's like stuck in my head. Like, what am I selling? Who am I selling? I don't want to sell myself. I don't want to sell my community. And so I'm trying to help myself think differently, or reframe it in Bethany's words, around. And so when you say retrain, it makes me feel like I need to train them to get on board with capitalism and pay. I don't know. Because I do believe also in paying Black women. So I don't know, y'all. I just don't know. You should never have asked what I was concerned about, because I'm obviously got a lot of concerns.
Well, I do want to.
I'm done speaking.
I want to say something to that. I mean, asking your community to support you is really not. Is it? Do you consider that capitalism? Do you or offering or
No, I don't. You're right. That's mutual aid. We do that all the time. We do it all the time. We give money, we give support, we give hours, we give work, and we never do it thinking that, okay, I buy you, you buy me. There is a model for that. Right. I'm sorry to interrupt. I was just excited.
No problem, but I know, because I want to I get how you feel about it, and how you view it, but even if you just figure out a way where, I mean, like there's ways you can offer something of value to your audience and get the monetary portion in return that doesn't necessarily make it quote unquote a capitalist approach. And I think that's the part you probably have to figure out for yourself what works in that space for you and what you're comfortable with. Um, because no matter what we do, there's always going to have to be an exchange, whether you're bartering, whether, if I go to a farmer and I have milk and he has corn, we still have to barter in some form or fashion. There has to be an exchange of value for everybody that's involved. So if your audience is okay with you, you know, pitching a sustainable product or something from a black owned business or something like that, you know, something that you vetted and that you're like, okay, I like where they're headed. I like how I like how this company or this person is moving with their product. That because sometimes I think people shoot themselves in the foot when they start to just take these hard line positions and not realize that you can accomplish this goal without feeding into the ideologies of whatever you might agree with or disagree with. So um, there are ways for you to be able to accomplish both of those goals. I just wanted to say
Yeah.
that.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you also, Rob. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take everything all of y'all have said to heart. Thank you.
And I was just going to say this on that. So I would never want anyone to go against their personal beliefs, go against their morals, just chasing the bag. Hopefully I didn't come across like that. But I do think that there are times when, there's going to be exchange of fiat in some way or another, I guess, unless you're doing cryptocurrency. So at some point, money exchanges hands. So if you are putting hours and hours and hours and hours of work into creating something that other people enjoy, you can say, I am doing this simply for them to enjoy it. But at some point, you still have rent that you've got to pay or a mortgage. You still have a car note that you've got to pay. You still have to buy food. There's still things that require, capital in order to do. So from my standpoint, if I talk about podcasting a lot. I have people who pick my brain on, well, hey, how do you do this? How did you set this up? How did you do these things? As I said earlier on the call, I'm about to move into 4 1-hour shows per week here in the in the not too distant future. So in order for me to be able to do that, I still need to generate income to turn the lights on, to pay the to pay the electric bill, to do all those kind of things. So if I'm talking about podcasting, and this is really how I believe you should do this, and here are 2 or 3 podcast hosts that I use them personally. If you use them, I will get a little bit of a percentage of you signing up an account. Something that if you're going to have a podcast, unless you're using Anchor or Red Table or something like that, where you're doing it for free, and I never recommend using free. You've got to pay for that. So where I'm at with the affiliate marketing is that if I'm already using this service, if I'm already into like Buzzsprout or Captivate or whatever it is that you use, I use that. This is what I use. It's working for me. Here's how it's working for me. Here's a link where you can go directly to that site. If you sign up and you use it, then I will get something back for it. If you decide not to do that, then you still got the information. And that's how I look at affiliate marketing. I'm not putting stuff out there that I personally don't use or personally don't believe in. There are some folks that do that. They literally just build an affiliate site, have no idea what the products are. That's not my mode of operandi. I'm generally, from an affiliate standpoint, talking about products that I'm actively using that make the things that I do easier. Here is the camera that I use. Here are the lights that I use. Here is the monitor that I just purchased. Here is the podcasting service that I use for transcription. All those things, if they offer an affiliate, I let my customer, let my audience know, here's how you can ultimately support me in doing this thing that you like.
All right. Thank you guys. I'm gonna move the conversation forward because the whole monetization thing, we could definitely spend some time and have another chat discussion about that. I'm gonna it's starting to get late and I want to give you guys let you guys go, but I do have one question or I want to put it out there and then we'll start to wrap up. If for 2022, what would be a goal or a challenge you would give to our community as a whole in the podcasting space? What would be one thing that you would like to see over the next year, to see us collectively achieve or to see us face a challenge of? I'll start with me then. For me, it's um taking our podcast a little bit more serious, meaning in the space of really sitting down and being like we've said a couple times during this conversation, really being intentional about what your goals and outcomes are for your audience. Us having these random conversations and being all over the place and putting out these products, these podcasts or media or content, I should say, where it's all over the place, and and a lot of our conversations are going left and right and getting off topic. I would love to see us to really, as a collectively, as a community, to really start to streamline that and really focus on being more intentional, because there's just so much money out here for those people who are interested in it. There's so much money, there's so much, so many things that this avenue places this avenue can take you to, whether it's using this as a to build your brand, whether it's using to build your personal brand, to bring funnel to your business, or to make money, or to not make money, or to just to share information. I think we really have to be intentional, and we really have to really start focusing on creating really high quality and content for our listeners, because in my personal opinion, it's not fair to them, right? We do have people who might check us out for the stuff that we do regularly, but there are some people who come and check out your content and they're really interested in following you, but your content is all over the place, or it doesn't make sense to them, that they just kind of drift somewhere else that aligns with what they're looking for. So that is my goal, or that is the challenge I want to put forth for the community for 2022. Anyone else would like to chime in? Okay.
I would love if we supported each other more, if we listened to an episode that we thought was really phenomenal and it had all of the expectations that you were looking for in that podcast, that you go above and beyond in writing a review, doing a 5-star, because that is how people are seen in the podcasting industry, by those reviews. So if we make a conscious effort to really listen to podcasts within this community and really engage with them, and even, shout them out on your podcast, write the review, send them a message telling them, I really enjoyed this content. You did an exceptional job. I think that those type of things, they take 5 minutes, but they truly go a long way in inspiring the creator of the content to know, A, that they're doing a great job, B, that people are actually listening, and C, to inspire them to continue. Because as we all know, there are days when this podcasting shit is oh, I'm sorry, can we swear? I don't care. I did. It's
too late now.
exhausting.
That's where I go.
Mimi knows.
Right, yes.
It's exhausting and it's overwhelming. And it's just those type of things that just could mean the world for somebody. So truly, I know I keep using the I word, but truly being intentional that when you listen to somebody's podcast within the body of the community and writing the review and sending them a little message, that is just gorgeous collaboration of this community.
I love that. And I want to follow up with Bethany, because I think that my request or invitation, rather than a challenge, would be pretty much, I think, the opposite of yours, Corey. I don't think that we need to tell our community, or, oh, well, you should be more focused and your podcast should. Our lives are already filled with so many shoulds. You should do this. You should do that. Some people think you should sound like NPR if you're going to be on the radio at all. And so let there be podcasts where people get off topic or have no topic. I know that there's folks who live alone who want to pop that right on and feel like they're in the middle of a really long, rambling conversation with people that they love. And so I don't have those shoulds. But what I would love would be for us to trust, as you were telling me, Corey, trust ourselves, trust our community, trust that we have the capacity and the creativity and the ingenuity to build what we need. We don't need to be externally validated. We don't need to be picked up by some major media or whatever in order to be seen as as valued, as valid, as important, because the people to whom we are important, those are the ones that really have our back, and those are the ones that we should continue to prioritize and center, especially since if we don't do it, it will not get done.
I want to respond to what you said, Lisa, real quick, because it's not about what you should do. It's really, for me, it's about how you want to represent with the work that you do. There has to be a level of I don't want to say self pride.
Professionalism.
Um, well, I will say this: it's all according to, and this is where a lot of issues with the podcasting space that me personally, I see is that this is part of the problem that I see in regards to podcasts and why people pod fade, right? Why they fail at what they're trying to accomplish is because they don't have a clear idea of what they want when they got started, or what they really want to do. They have an idea of what they want to do. They have an idea of how they think it's going to go, and rather than just take the time to sit down and say, okay, let me investigate this. Let me figure out how I want to go about this route and what I want to accomplish. What is my ultimate goal? It has to be intentional. There has to be a should somewhere in there. Should I even do this? Should be the first question you
Yes,
even
of
ask
course.
yourself. Because
Yes, I agree.
because
I
a lot of
agree.
our
You're
people
right.
are putting a lot of time and energy and resources that they can be putting it somewhere else, simply because they're chasing something that they didn't even take the time to investigate. And then it's causing a level of frustration that they put out towards the world. Case in point, hey, I think you should edit your podcast. I don't have to do that. I'm gonna just put it out raw. Like, and not realizing that you're not achieving your goals that you want for yourself, simply because you're being obstinate, because you're at a place of frustration and you don't want to listen to anybody, and you're just being confrontational about any suggestions that come in that may require you to put a little bit more effort and money into what you're doing. Unfortunately, I tell people podcasting is an expensive hobby, right? And it has a level of investment that you have to make and maintain in order for it to sustain itself. So the goal is telling people to do that so that they can actually get the listeners. They can actually accomplish whatever it is, the goals that they want to, whether it's to make money or not, whether it's just to have an audience listen to what they have to say, get their viewpoints across, whatever it is. You have to be intentional, and it has to be organized, and it has to be well thought out, because that's the only way you're going to really attract the people that you're really looking for, that you want to listen to. I think a lot of people just settle and say, well, I have 100, I have these people over here that are listening to me and they listen every week, but that may not be who you really want to talk to. So that's the space I'm really coming from. If you want to have the intention of your podcast is to be all over the place, then go right ahead. But you also have to manage your expectations of what level of success you're going to achieve. I think a lot of podcasters think they're on the same level as a Joe Budden, or some of these other, or Nori, or some of these other people who have established their celebrity over decades, to get to the point where they can just sit in front of a camera and talk for 2 hours and drink and smoke and talk about utter nonsense and still make a lot of money doing it. So, that's the only point that I was really trying to make, and that's where I was really trying to come across. But for us on this level, and for a lot of people who are in our association, they're serious about what they're trying to do. But some of them are just not on. They just have to tweak and fix what they're doing to really take it to the next point for themselves, where they want to achieve the next level that they want to achieve. So,
I see. Thank you so much for that clarification. That really helps. I thought you were talking specifically about episode format and how that people should somehow stick to an outline for their episodes. So I misunderstood the context of what you were saying. So now I realize we agree. Congratulations.
And I think that's important too, is that for each person who's doing this, that they know their why. So like when you were talking about, Corey, about people being successful, I think for different people, success means different things.
right.
But I think for them to achieve that success, they need to know what their purpose is and what they're trying to do. And then that will help them plan to be able to achieve that even better.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, with that, anyone else want to add to to the question?
Yeah, I was going to say Bethany touched a lot of what I had in mind, and I wanted to also give a shout out to Rob for the points that he made earlier on. I was one of those who, in the beginning, I was afraid of. I postponed. People kept asking, like, do you have a Patreon? You know, how can I donate? How can I support you? And I was like, oh, maybe I need to have 10,000 listeners or 50, whatever number. I kept moving the goalposts. And yeah, that was very important what Rob said about adding that to the beginning of the podcast. I had someone who was actually telling me that I should start my Patreon as soon as possible, since I wasn't the person who was interested in sponsorship per se from companies, and I just didn't believe myself to collect money from. I just felt like I was collecting money from people. So I had to walk over that mindset before I could get comfortable with Patreon, which will take a while. So yeah, thank you for saying that. And this has been great. Really enjoyed everything that I've learned a lot. Got some notes taken down, and I'll definitely be using some of Lisa's marketing ideas for my Patreon too. So yeah.
All right. Thank you, Raphael.
Thanks.
All right, guys. This conversation went a little longer than I was planning, but I really appreciate everybody chiming in and giving their, talking and contributing to the conversation. Again, this is the Black Podcast Association. We do this every other Monday. This is the last conversation we're having for 2021. But yes, who was that? I didn't see.
Well, that was me.
Oh. Yeah.
Oh, no. I just wanted to piggyback off of what Stephanie said about the support, because I know it can be frustrating. I know sometimes I get in front of the mic and I'm like, who am I doing this for? And that support is kind of what should really drive you. So, and actually I got some downtime this week. I plan to listen to a few folks podcasts just to, kind of give them some love and so forth. So support, yeah, that's definitely an important thing to do, especially in this community here.
But I do want to reiterate, like the podcast that you're reviewing. If you do not like the podcast, if you listen to an episode and then you were like, what the hell was that? Don't lie.
Yeah.
Don't lie to the people. Don't leave a review. That's 5 stars. And you're like, that was the wackest hour of my life. Make sure, like, it's all about being truly honest. I'm not saying go leave them a 1 star. Just ignore the fact that you listened to that podcast and go find another podcast that you like. If you truly enjoyed it, then leave the 5 star in the review. If you were like after watching a movie that had no plot and no purpose, and you were like, what did I just watch? If that's how you feel after listening to an episode, just leave it. I just wanted to clarify. Don't lie to the people.
Yeah. Good point. Especially because I was looking at Leah's, because I'm an audiophile. I love music and stuff. I was looking at hers. I was like, one day I got to binge on her podcast. So, but yeah, it's definitely got to be someone I like. I like their stuff. So, but again, supporting one another, that is important.
You know what? With that,
we had a lot of good.
Sorry, Mimi.
Oh, no. I was just going to say, we had a lot of good insight and tips and sharing of info tonight. So very glad everybody was able to make it.
Thank y'all so much for hosting this. Really. Thank you, Corey. Thank you, Mimi. This was really, really great.
Thank you, guys. Real quick, since you guys mentioned supporting podcasts, we do actually have an official Black Podcasters Association playlist on podchaser.com where we highlight members from our group, and we have their links to their websites, to their podcasts on our website. So I'm on that list. I'm sorry, on the Podchaser website. So you guys can definitely check that out. The link can also be found, I believe, in our link tree, which is at the top of this chat room. But again, thank you everybody for joining us. We do these chats bi-weekly. I don't have my calendar in front of me, but it's 2 weeks from now we'll be having our next chat. We haven't figured out what we're going to talk about yet for the new year, but please make sure you guys join our club here on Clubhouse so you can stay up to date. You can check out our social media. If you're not a member of our Facebook group, please make sure you reach out and join that as well. We have these conversations further on in our group as well. So make sure you click the link at the top of the page. Again, thank you, everybody. I wish everybody a happy new year. Probably won't speak to some of you guys until after the new year, but if you are available this Wednesday, we're also doing a mixer along with Afros and audio. The link can be also found on our link tree. You can RSVP for that this Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. So please make sure you check it out. It's going to be a great event, and we're going to be making a huge announcement that you don't want to miss. It's going to be definitely something that us as Black podcasters in our community are definitely going to want to be a part of. So make sure you RSVP and check that out. And with that being said, again, thank you. Have a happy new year and a good evening.
Good night.
Night, everyone.
Same to you, Corey. Same to everybody. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Ciao. Wow.